Alright, what's up YouTube? Every year I do a big fireworks finale at my 4th of July celebration. We shoot fireworks off at my daughter's birthday and sometimes on New Year's Eve. My nephew got married at our place, did a fireworks show at his reception. Fireworks shows are always a good time. Everybody loves them. After each show, people come up to me, want to know where I got my stuff, how I did it, how I set it up, and all that. Some people are just curious, I think. Other people want to do it for themselves. In any event, I'm always more than happy to talk to people, let them know what I did, how I did it. So I thought this year I'd make a few videos on some of the things that people regularly ask me about so that they can watch it, rewatch it later on if they forgot or missed something, pass it on to other people that might like to do it. Plus I thought it might help for people to actually see the things I use and how I do it instead of just listening to me talk about it. So one of the things people ask about is how do I make fireballs? So today's video is about how to make a fireball. So before we go any further, I need to stress that we'll be working with some very flammable liquids as well as black powder or Pyrodex. It's a very dangerous procedure. I don't really recommend that anyone perform it. This video is strictly to show you how I do it and is intended to be viewed as educational video only. Under no circumstances should any child or irresponsible adult attempt this. Should you decide to attempt this, safety should be of the utmost importance. I'm not going to be responsible for any damage or harm caused by your actions. Proceed with caution, guys. That being said, let's take a look at what it takes to make a fireball and how to ignite it safely. First, let's look at the ingredients and supplies you're going to need. I've got everything you're going to need right here on the table. I've got a suitable container, a half a gallon of gasoline, half a gallon of diesel, half a gallon of water, black powder or Pyrodex. I use Pyrodex as that's what I have on hand. You're going to need a sandwich bag, a Ziploc type bag, good quality electric tape. You're going to need an E-match igniter. There's several different types of igniters out there. If you don't know the difference in them, you can check out some of my other videos where I do a video about E-match igniters versus Talon igniters. For this application, you need an E-match igniter. You're also going to need an electronic ignition system, a fire extinguisher, and most importantly, a wide open space with no objects near any of the sides or above you. So let's talk about each item on the list for a minute. First off, a suitable container. Here I have a container. This container is made from a steel pipe with a steel base and a steel handle. The pipe is 8-inch Schedule 40 pipe. It's 12 inches tall. The base plate is 3/4 inch thick, 12 inches by 12 inches. Now your plate doesn't have to be a 3/4 inch thick plate. A 1/4 inch plate will do just fine. I have a 3/4 inch plate because I used to own a metal fabrication shop, and this was an extra column base plate I had laying around. In any case, your base plate should be welded solid and watertight to the pipe. This is what we're going to mix our liquids in, and we don't want any liquids to leak out on the ground, as it could contaminate the ground and could cause a hazardous condition when the fireball is ignited. You want all your liquid inside this container. Don't try to caulk the inside of this container to seal it up, as your mixture will eat the caulking away. Most likely you'll have to have a weld shop or metal fab shop fab this up. Tell them that it must be watertight. When you get it home to test it, just set it out, fill it all the way to the top with water, leave it there for a couple hours and see if there's any moisture coming out around this bottom weld down here. If it is, you need to carry it back to the welding shop and have them redo it. A good weld shop should be able to make a watertight weld. The handle is 1/2-inch steel rod. It's been bent 290 degrees and welded to the pipe. It's for easy carrying because this thing's pretty heavy. This is not an item that you can just run out and purchase somewhere. You're going to need to go to like a metal fabrication shop or a welding shop. If they don't have 8-inch pipe, you could use 6-inch Schedule 40 pipe, but if you do that, I would cut all of these ingredients in half, because 6-inch pipe's not going to be big enough to hold all this. It's critical that the top of this container be open. You can see I can stick my hand right down in it. The ignition of this mixture wants to take the easiest route out. If the top of this container is completely open, the fireball will shoot right out the top. If the top of the container is covered or blocked in any way, it could lead to building up pressure inside the container, which could cause it to explode. It could send metal shrapnel flying in all directions, could lead to serious harm or property damage. Now, another issue about the container, since this container's top is to remain open, it's extra critical that you be aware of what's going on around the container. For example, there shouldn't be any open flames, there should be no smoking, and there should be no chance of any firework debris or fallout getting into the container. Many times fireworks will go off, they go up, they make a spectacular explosion high in the sky, and without anyone knowing it or realizing it, many small sparks are falling back to the ground. If one of these sparks gets into this container, it could possibly ignite this mixture prematurely, which could lead to serious harm or property damage, or at the very least, it would set your fireball off prior to the time you want it to go off. All right, so that's your container. Good, solid container, open top. All right, so the gasoline is going to be the fuel. It's going to create a very bright fireball. The diesel is going to add to our fuel. The diesel won't burn quite as fast as the gasoline, so it creates a longer lasting fireball that kind of rolls up into the air and should produce a nice black cloud of smoke. The water is going to add to the volume of our fuel mixture without adding any further fuel to make it burn a little slower, which will allow the fireball to climb up a little higher before it burns out. Your powder is going to be what provides the explosion. It's going to ignite the mixture and cause it to be thrown out of the container and into the air. The Ziploc bag is going to be what you put your powder in to contain it. The electrical tape is going to make a nice tight container for the black powder, or the Pyrodex in this case, causing it to explode and not just burn up. You don't want your powder to just ignite and poof. You want it in a tight container so that it explodes, which is going to throw your mixture up in the air and ignite it. Another thing the electrical tape is going to do is it's going to protect your black powder from the fuel mixture, as you don't want your powder to get wet or it's not going to go off. If you wrap this up nice and tight, it should buy you about 20 minutes. The E-match is going to be what lights your powder and sets the whole thing off. And the ignition system is how we're going to safely ignite this whole thing while being nowhere near it. The wide open space is self-explanatory. You know, you need to make sure that there's no trees around, no structures, no people for several hundred feet, because this is not only going to produce a big fireball, but it's going to throw a lot of heat out too. So you don't want to be underneath any kind of trees or bushes or anything like that. The fire extinguisher should be self-explanatory. It's going to serve to extinguish any flame that's accidentally ignited by any of the mixture that may not burn up completely and fall back down to the ground, or that may splash out of the container upon the initial explosion of the powder. Gasoline and diesel doesn't mix with water very good, so don't rely on a water hose to extinguish the flames. A water hose can certainly be added, and any extra safety measures are definitely helpful, but you shouldn't rely on the water hose alone. Just in case there's an emergency, have your fire extinguisher available. And just FYI, that's a good idea for any time you're shooting off any type of fireworks. All right, so this is the ingredients. We talked about the role they play in the fireball and some safety issues. The only thing we really need to prep before setting up the mixture is the powder charge. Although I am inside today, I highly recommend that you fix your powder charge up outside as you're going to be placing the powder in a contained area with the E-match igniter. Now, these E-match igniters are fairly safe as far as I know. As long as you're not hooked up to your electronic ignition system, you really shouldn't have a problem. but it's not the kind of thing you want to be doing in your kitchen. It's kind of what you're getting at. I mean, I am inside, but I'm inside my garage. It's detached from the house, so if something were to happen, I'm not burning my entire house down. So before we even think about touching the black powder or the igniter, we're going to get this diesel and this gasoline far away from us into a safe spot, so should something accidentally happen, at least we don't have this stuff here. So let's do that right now. Okay, so we've got the gasoline and the diesel completely away from the area, and we're ready to make our powder charge. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully measure out a half a cup of the black powder, and we're going to pour it into the Ziploc bag. We're going to hold the bag up on the corner so that all the powder goes down to one corner, and we're going to insert the match end of the E-match into the bag. And then we're going to seal it up. Since the igniter wire is hanging out of the bag, there should be a little small hole where you can squeeze the air out of the bag. If not, open your bag up just a little bit, get all the air out, and then reseal it. It's important to get all the air out because you want your powder charge to sink into the fuel mixture. You want it to be all the way down in the bottom. You don't want it floating around in the top, because this powder exploding is what's going to throw your mixture up into the air. Once the bag is sealed, we're going to wrap it very tightly with electrical tape. Don't be greedy with the tape. All right? The electrical tape you buy should be a good quality tape, and you really want to wrap it several times. Make it nice and tight. You want a nice hard pouch of powder charge. The more you wrap it, the more time it's going to buy you before the fuel mixture eats through the tape in the bag and gets your powder wet. So if you wrap it good, you should have about 20 minutes before it possibly gets ruined. So let's wrap it up real good, real quick. So I'm going to move the water over here. Open our bag. Open our black powder. Pour that in there. All right, doesn't have to be all the way full to the very, very top. Trust me, that's going to be plenty of powder. We're going to put it in there. Top back on our black powder. Brush our table off, and we'll take this, set it over here to the side. All right, my igniter has a 10-foot lead on it, and we're going to use every bit of that when we set it up out in the field. Now, these igniters have a little cover on them. We're going to just get that cover back out of the way. Put your powder over to one corner. Seal your bag up. Make sure that's down in there. Just fold this up. I'm going to twist it real good. Squeeze all that air out of there. Now we're going to take our tape. Wrap this up like crazy. Alright, there you go. As you can see, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be wrapped and sealed. You want to squeeze it down, make sure all that tape's adhered. Alright, so that's it. Ready to go out in the field, mix it up, shoot it off. Alright guys, we're out here in the back field, a couple 100 feet behind my house. As you can see, this is sitting on flat ground. There's no obstructions nowhere. I know you can't see that, but I've got at least 100 feet in any direction. It snowed and rained here last week, and we got a really good rain come through last night for a couple hours. The ground's super wet. Just right behind the camera there's about a 10-foot puddle of water that's 5 or 6 inches deep. It's a perfect day to set this off without a whole lot of worry about catching things on fire. Everything should be super wet. So let's mix it up. I like to start with the least flammable first. So we're going to go with a half a gallon of water. I've already got the black powder charge hooked to the igniter. If you don't know about electronic ignition systems, you can search my other videos for how to use an electronic ignition system. It'll tell you all about it. Half a gallon of diesel. And finally, half a gallon of gasoline. You don't want this container filled all the way to the top. You actually only want it filled about halfway up. So when the black powder charge goes off, it kind of funnels it up a little bit. This is filled to about right there, which is why I said if you have to go with a 6-inch pipe, you should cut all of these ingredients in half. A quarter cup of black powder and a quarter gallon of each of the liquids. All right, so here's our black powder charge that we taped up nice and tight. We're going to move that just a little closer. We're going to drop this down in there. It successfully sank all the way to the bottom, so we're ready to get back several 100 feet and do it to it. Alright guys, as you can see, I'm right behind my house, but the fireball is set up down in the field. We're about 250, maybe 300 feet away. There's nothing on either side or above it. Even though I'm about 300 feet away, it's possible to still feel some heat off this thing, so I can't stress enough how important it is to be well away from it. If you think you're going to run 50 feet away and ignite this, you're in for a surprise. So anyway, here we go guys. It's set up, and all you got to do is ignite it. Alright, there you have it. That's how you make and ignite a fireball. They're great additions to fireworks shows and usually send a wave of surprise through your spectators. But make no mistake about it, it's a very dangerous mixture, and all safety precautions should be adhered to closely. So if you want to see what it looks like at night, here's a clip of the first time I tried it for myself, so you can see how bright it is at night. I'm going to show it to you once, and then I'll show it to you again in slow motion so you can get a feeling for what it really looks like. 3, 2, 1. Well, that's it for how to make a fireball. If you like fireworks, don't forget to check out my other videos and search for my past fireworks finale videos. I don't have them all posted, but I do have them posted for 2010, 2014, 2015, and 2017. 2010 was my first attempt. 2015 was complicated by rain, but we still managed to get a pretty good finale out. 2014 and 2017 rocked, so definitely check those out. As always, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, and share them with your friends. Be safe, and thanks for watching.